Officials in Washington sending several U.S. warships to the southern Caribbean.
Things have really been shaking along the infamous Ring of Fire lately.
A major earthquake has hit eastern Afghanistan.
And thousands of personnel off Venezuela's coast.
You are watching Mamu TV.
Why do you think society pushes so hard for constant connection? Why do you think every movie, every song, every advertisement tells us that being alone equals being broken? Why do you think loner is treated like a dirty word? Because they know something we're just starting to figure out. The man who's comfortable in his own skin can't be controlled. He can't be manipulated. He can't be sold in security wrapped in pretty packages. He doesn't need their products, their validation, or their permission to be happy. He's achieved something most people spend their entire lives chasing, inner peace. And he didn't get it from a guru, a self-help book, or a wellness retreat. He got it from the most radical act possible in our hyper-connected world. He sat alone with himself and refused to run. Nowhere can man find a quieter or more untroubled retreat than in his own soul. Think about the people we all know who seem to always be in some kind of drama. Their mood depends on who calls them back, who includes them in plans, who validates their decisions. They're like emotional ping-pong balls, bouncing between highs and lows based on how other people treat them. Now imagine the opposite. Imagine someone whose mood, whose sense of self-worth, whose entire emotional state is completely independent of external circumstances. Someone who's genuinely happy, whether they're at a party or sitting alone in their room. That's terrifying to the system, because it reveals something we've all been taught to avoid, that we've been living as emotional slaves, completely dependent on others for our basic psychological needs. What he's really doing in all that solitude. Here's what society gets wrong about the man who loves being alone. They think he's doing nothing. They're dead wrong. While others are busy consuming drama, consuming other people's opinions, he's creating. He's reading books that expand his mind instead of mindlessly consuming drama that shrinks it. He's developing skills instead of developing addictions to instant gratification. He's having deep conversations with himself instead of shallow conversations with people who don't really know him. But here's the part that'll really mess with your head. He's not doing any of this to prove a point. He's not trying to be different or special or superior. He's doing it because it feels right to him, because when someone strips away all the noise, all the expectations, all the bullshit, this is what emerges. This is who he actually is. Here's what's happening while everyone else is performing their lives on social media. This guy is building something real. But what is he building? He's building mental strength. While others are weakening their attention span with constant stimulation, he's strengthening his ability to focus deeply on what matters. He's building emotional resilience. While others are becoming more fragile, more dependent on external validation, he's becoming more stable, more self-sufficient. He's building authentic relationships. Not hundreds of shallow connections, but a few deep ones with people who actually know and appreciate who he really is. He's building skills, real skills, skills that come from deep practice. He's just building. And when the world finally sees what he's created, in his work, in his character, in the quiet confidence he carries, they're shocked. Where did this come from? How did he get so good at this? When did he become so solid? The answer is simple. While others were performing, he was practicing. Most of us are slaves and don't even know it. We think we're free because we can choose between different ways to stay busy, different forms of entertainment to consume, different ways to distract ourselves from the growing emptiness inside. But the man who loves being alone, he's figured out that true freedom doesn't come from having more choices, it comes from needing fewer of them. He doesn't need to be entertained every moment because he's learned to find joy in simple things. He doesn't need constant validation because he's learned to validate himself. He doesn't need to escape from his thoughts because he's made peace with them. That's real freedom, and it scares the hell out of a society that profits from our enslavement. Here's something nobody talks about. Solitude changes your body. When you stop living in constant stress about what others think, your nervous system relaxes. When you stop flooding your system with the chaos of constant social interaction, your energy returns. You sleep better because you're not replaying social interactions in your head. You eat better because you're listening to your body instead of eating socially. You move better because you're connected to yourself. He's not just mentally thriving, he's physically optimized. Here's what this all comes down to. The man who loves being alone has figured out the biggest secret in human psychology. You don't need anyone else's permission to be happy. You don't need their approval to live your life. You don't need their understanding to make choices that feel right to you. You don't need their validation to know your worth. And once you truly understand that, everything changes. Not because your external circumstances necessarily change, but because your relationship with those circumstances transforms completely. You stop being a victim of your environment and become the architect of your experience. The man who loves being alone isn't just thriving, he's free. And once you taste that freedom, once you experience that peace, once you feel that power, you realize that everything you've been taught about happiness, success, and fulfillment has been backwards. The answer isn't out there, it's in here. And the journey to find it begins the moment you stop running from yourself and start running toward who you're meant to be. If this opened your eyes to something you've been feeling but couldn't put into words, you know what to do. He's showing us all what it means to be truly alive. And that might be exactly what the world needs right now.
listening to this, you are the resistance.